lot walking around.
Definitely. And, these players are also 6-0. And, normally at these events, there's like 2 pages worth of 6-0s. But not at this one. There is only 5 matches, 6 matches if you include the 501s of undefeated players. So, we're going to be down to 6 undefeated players after this, 3 after that, and maybe 1 or 2 going into that last round. So a rather small event.
This is very interesting. So we've seen the energy decks against the linear combo decks.
Yes.
We just saw it against the control deck. Now this is a little more middle of the road, right? So this Domain Zoo deck is it's aggressive, but kind of like mid-rangey, interactive aggressive. So how does this line up for energy, you think?
If it has Leyline and Scion, very well, Jim.
Okay.
If it doesn't, not as good. It's just not as streamlined of a aggressive deck without that 1-2 punch. But the Leyline Scion thing, you really can't beat that from the Boros side. Unless Ian is kind of like doing nothing besides that, so that is a tough combo to get because number one, you have to have a Leyline in your opening hand and then you got to find a Scion. But if Ian can get that going, it'll be great news for him. Outside of that, a little bit more tricky, but I will say Lee playing Mardu where you can have Thoughtseize, you can actually break that up.
All right. So we see a Thoughtseize here from Lee, and Lee's also dodged the Leyline this game, which is great. We see a hand of, we got Ragavan, Stubborn Denial, and a smattering of lands. Not the best hand for Ian.
No, Stubborn Denial looks exactly like a Force Spike, but even worse, I guess. And Arena of Glory is great. This is going to come down to being a Flage mirror match in some ways. So a lot of these games that don't involve the early Leyline Scions, then it really comes down to the Flage fight. Who's got Arena Flage first type thing.
Who's favored in the Flage fight?
I would say maybe a little bit to Mardu as there are just more Arena of Glories. But other than that, it's very, very similar. But I think the Mardu side, it's just easier to get them because you have Seasoned Pyromancer to draw some cards. There's not a lot of card advantage from the Domain Zoo side.
Sounds good.
So I would say Lee.
Okay. Well, Pride comes down, and Pride's coming in. 1 point of damage, 1 point of lifelink. And, of course, Ian is a lot of work to do. That hand's got to get cleaned up for sure.
Yeah.
Here's a backstreet from Lee. Surveil. Going Topper in the bin.
And I see another Thoughtseize in hand from Lee, so nothing amazing as far as the follow-up is. Something like a Seasoned Pyromancer here would be phenomenal. But we do know about the Stubborn Denial, so, we're not going to see Lee play land 3 and tap up for a Fable or something like that.
That would be bold.
It would be bold.
I mean, I would almost appreciate that.
I'd respect
you know
it.
what? Here.
Yeah.
I know you have it.
Yeah.
I'm just going to do it anyway.
Yeah, I'd be like, but is it a mind game? Who knows?
All right, so Voice of Victory I can assume, right? Tarkir treatment. So Voice of Victory comes down and is a threat too. It attacks for 3. Pretty good body here. Makes that Stubborn Denial look pretty silly as well.
And it is a combination with Oscillate Pride for sure. Because those tokens do get sacrificed at end step, but if you ascend, you will get 2 warriors, and they will not have that clause where you have to sacrifice them. So a really nice combo if Lee can get ascended, and it doesn't look that hard next turn at all, right? Because there's 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah, a couple of permanents, and we're good to go.
Yep. And it's cool seeing the synergy of this card as well, but here we go. All right. So
big game.
Ian finds the Flage first, takes out the Oscillate Pride.
And has Arena of Glory, too. So maybe everything that Lee did to set this up, doesn't matter. Flage looks insane right now if we just have a fetch line, which I'm pretty sure Ian did.
Yeah, there were plenty of lands to go around, so fetch line looking pretty good. Graveyard looking pretty full. And Lee's got some work to do. So Voice of Victory come back over with 1 single cat.
Yeah, the game just flipped immediately with the first person to draw a Flage here. First person to get it in play as well is just ultra incredible here.
It is somewhat difficult to remove, right? We see bindings on Ian's side and then a few fatal pushes on Lee's side, but, just come back, right?
Yeah. Or Galvanic Discharge if you've done some extra work, but regardless, it's going to be really tough. Also, Dreams of Steel and Oil is probably the best one, huh? Just exile it.
Oh, that's true. Yeah. I can get it from hand or graveyard, right?
Yeah, yep, exactly. So right now, if we go land Dreams of Steel and Oil from Lee, you get a card out of your opponent's hand, and you get to eat the Flage.
All right, so you see the Pyromancer discarded. Looks like another Pyromancer and a Thoughtseize. We have tokens for that. We got a Mobilize attack for 4 with the cat. the voice and the 2 mobilized tokens.
Yeah, so there should be 2 tokens coming in.
Yep, there they come.
There we go.
All right, so big turn for Ian. Can Ian produce this Titan?
Ooh, that is not a land that produces the Titan, though.
Yeah, so 1 card short in the graveyard. Untap Godless Shrine. Take 2. And we see a Territorial Kavu.
Okay.
And a Scion of Draco. All right, so not too shabby.
Not bad. I still think Flage would have been better, you know, but
now it's a spot where if either one of these die,
yeah,
that's the Magic 6 card in the graveyard.
Absolutely.
So leaves an untap. Now the tokens in play look less impressive against these larger bodies. And Lee's going to take a second to think over his options.
We got some freshly drawn cards off the Seasoned Pyromancer, so hopefully we have some gas to fight back against these creatures, but Scion of Draco is also just a very difficult card to get off the battlefield. You're not fatal pushing that one, believe it or not.
Yeah. it's a few mana cost off.
Just one or two, yeah.
All right, so looks like you might be thinking about an attack here. Maybe. It looked like an attack organized. Maybe just a little board cleanup.
Yeah.
I don't know why Voice of Victory has been isolated to the side over here. You know,
not attacking with that one.
Yeah, sit in the corner.
Lee could be trying to get Ian to block with the Scion of Draco and then finish it off with 3 damage. So we'll see if we want to fall for that at all. It does give first strike to the red creature. Not super important since it's a 5/5 anyways, but the Scion does not get any kind of buffs right now.
How important is Kavu in these Flage fights?
Pretty important if it comes down early, but if you can ever kind of wait a little bit to, get your Flage in a little bit later in the game, or, Surveil went in, of course, that would be ideal.
All right, we got a big attack coming here, I think. Here's Guide of Souls. Here's a dashed Ragavan on this board, which is pretty frisky. Here comes our energy. Now, can Lee stack the energy generation from the Voice of Victory tokens and the Guide of Souls trigger?
Yes. Yes, it can. Yep. So you put it at the back, you get to, and then you get to send something to the skies. Yep. Explaining that right now.
So the question is, what's going in the air?
I would assume Ragavan. Get that extra land, especially if we have something like a Fatal Push. You can, trigger Revolt. Not that you really have to, but be able to do that. I would assume that's the case because you can also just hit a spell off your opponent's deck. You can hit a Lightning Bolt, something like that.
Okay, so a little temporary buff here on this Ragavan potentially, but looks like Lee's thinking it over. This is a large attacker. There are a lot of attackers here.
And Scion can just block whatever flyers, so, maybe it isn't Ragavan. Maybe you put your worst creature in the air, so, yeah, okay. Voice going up makes a lot of sense because it doesn't die to Scion. Yep, that's much better. Good call, Lee.
All right, so thinks it over, comes out with the, looks like the right answer here, and energy goes away, and we got a whole bunch of little guys coming in. Ragavan, 2 Elementals, 2 Warriors, a Seasoned Pyromancer, a Cat, and the 3/5 Flying Voice of Victory.
Yeah, I would think block number 1 would be on the Ragavan with your 5/5 first striker, and then unless there's a land drop that Lee can make, which there is, he hasn't played a land drop yet, but otherwise these blocks are just going to happen. It's going to work, and you're going to take a solid chunk of damage, though. Don't get me wrong. This is 5, 6, 7, 8, putting Ian down to what looks like 5.
I think it's possible lead up to a bombardment finish.
Oh, yeah. I mean, that would be an easy finish, to say the least. The Warriors do go away, and we'll see. Ian's at the spot where, let's not forget about the Flage. If the Flage is there and coming back, that's 6 life we're gaining, and just might be lethal. Or if Ian goes Leyline, just hard casts it and has all of a sudden this much lifelink, vigilance, first strike, all the text. So Ian has 2 ways to just slam the door shut. Fetch land. 1 mana plus, a land plus 1 mana card to go to the yard. But if he doesn't have either of those things, you still have a consolation prize of being able to attack with the Kavu, discard a card, bring back Flage and kill 1 thing and gain some life. And that's still pretty good. But it's not a Flage attacking kind of good.
All right, so best case scenario for Ian has not come to fruition, but a little bit of a backup plan here. And of course, this was face up last turn for Lee to see. This was the one guarantee was this play happening here. So here comes the Kabu. And looking like no blocks.
Wow, had the fetch land. That is wild to me.
All right. So, yeah, chose... Well, I mean, you could have drawn it off the loot, right?
That's true. That makes a lot more sense to me.
So, Flage comes in, and a little Lightning Helix action onto Guide of Souls. And Flage will have First Strike and Lifelink. So, does it...
Vigilance. It feels like it should be Lifelink, but it is not.
All right. So, to ask you, it would gain double life then on the Helix, right?
I believe that's how it worked in 1995, yes.
Okay.
There was double lifelink. That was a thing, wasn't it? Yeah.
All right, so board getting pretty chunky for Ian over here, back Lee's way. And the last turn felt like a setup attack for this turn.
Yeah.
But Flage does seem to complicate that quite a bit.
Yeah, now Lee has to have something. This attack alone is just not going to be enough. You will be able to get through, 4 damage? And then I guess if there is a bombardment, it is probably good enough here.
Yeah, the tokens from Voice in this deck are awesome.
Yeah.
There's so much synergy with Voice. Really, really cool to see a card that is, singularly powerful by itself, but does so much for the deck with the Johnny and bombardment and everything else. So
yeah.
Lee thinking it through. I mean, there is still the 1 mana available on Ian's side. The Stubborn Denial was discarded, but there are 2 unknowns. Fetch land up.
Yeah, and I think if one of them is Goblin Bombardments from Lee's side, I think it's enough.
I agree.
Yep. Unless there's Stubborn Denial number 2.
All right.
Which would be a complete blowout.
that would be quite the surprise. Oh yeah, that one you knew about?
Yeah.
Yeah, that one's gone.
But there's no way it's here though if you're not playing it pre-combat. That wouldn't make any sense.
Agreed. So in that case, kind of a wild attack then, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah, and I guess Voice is in play, so you couldn't counter it anyways. So
yes.
Yeah.
All right. So here's the attack. The 3/5 Flying Voice. Warrior, Elemental, Cat. There's a variety pack of tokens. We see block on Voice, block on Cat.
Interesting.
And we got Cat down, the Voice and the Scion bounce.
You'd think you want to flip those around though, right?
Well, a Voice does not have flying. It's a flying counter, right?
Yes, of course.
Yes.
Yes.
Right. So
I was like, I know we had 2 counters, but they were, of course, from our Guide of Souls. Yep. My bad.
All right. So, and now we saw Flage deal 3. Is that correct? Yes.
Yep.
Tap for
Finished
3.
off the Scion.
So Scion's gone. Fetch land's here. Flage still in play though.
Yes.
Not a card you want to leave in play for too long as possible.
Really. So that is 11 damage plus 3. We have 14 upstairs. 14 isn't 15. So Ian would have to have something to finish this game off. And want to go for it. Lee could have, not much. I was going to say we can't really Galvanic Discharge anything. You could Fatal Push one of the cards, so maybe Lee is trying to set up something like that. But if you had Fatal Push here, Lee would have just done it, I imagine, to save a creature. But we will see.
All right, so we'll end step Surveil. Bins a land for Ian. Now we go Ian's way. Ian's got a lot going on here. Flage and Kava ready to attack. There's an Arena Glory also. We're going to see an attack. Goodbye, Lee's Flage.
Oh, so good.
See you later.
Down to 1. Bolt.
That is the easy answer. All right, so Ian takes it down, and kind of a wild game, honestly. Lee took some pretty aggressive stabs there, trying to get around the Flage, I can only assume, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, Ian's hand looked horrible early in on the game. It was really not looking good, but just that top deck Flage right when it really mattered just shows how powerful that card is in general, but really in any kind of aggressive matchup.
Absolutely. All right, so, Corey.
Yeah.
So you want to get some cash. You got to pay your rent, or you want to buy some more Magic cards. What do you do?
I guess I'm gonna go get a job. Nah, just kidding. I'm gonna sell all my cards, and I'm gonna use all that store credit to buy some more cards. Go to sellyourcards.starcitygames.com. Now remember, if you sell your cards to SCG, you kind of have that option where you can sell your cards for some money for a good value. Or you can boost it up by 30%, get yourself some nice store credit for all that stuff, and then just buy more Magic cards. You just got to ask yourself the question, am I ever going to buy Magic cards again? The answer is yes. Get store credit. It doesn't expire.
Yeah, I actually put it in a sale yesterday.
Did you?
Sold some stuff. I actually sold some of the old gold-bordered cards out of my cube.
Oh,
like
okay.
Gaia's Cradle, Ancient Tomb. They've been in my cube for like 15 years. A little sad to see them go, but the cards got to move on. They got to find a new home. So
you need to buy other Magic cards. So
that's why I did it.
Yeah, checked out.
I got my store credit. So sell your cards at StarCityGames.com. All right, let's hop back down to game number 2 here. Ian is up a game. Lee, of course, on the play with the turn 1 Sacred Foundry for Oscillate Pride.
Iconic. An iconic play from these Boros energy decks, or Mardu energy.
All right, Steam Vents for Ian, and then another iconic play. Turn 1, Lightning Bolt your creature.
Bolt the cat, as they say.
I've heard that before. But
everyone says it.
Like twice.
Exactly. Once was now.
Yes. All right, so back Lee's way. And Lee definitely feels like Lee's got to get under Ian a little bit, right?
Yeah, I would think so. I would think so. But once again, we dodged the bullet of Leyline Scion. I think that is number one thing that you need to avoid, as it's so hard to interact with. And now it's, okay, get the early game going from Lee. And then once we get to that mid to late game, it's a flage fight.
All right, so here's Johnny. Going to come with a little cat friend, ready to avenge Oscillate Pride's untimely demise.
Oh.
Back Ian's way, we see Temple Garden tapped and just a Ragavan. And that's it. So 4 out of the 5 domain lands, no fetch land, no triumphs yet. And a lowly Ragavan, a little worse on the draw.
Just a Goblin Bombardment, just thinking, oh yeah, come on. This would be prime Eaton here to be able to kill the Ragavan and flip the Ajani if we do have one of those.
Are you surprised to see Ragavan still in the deck on the draw?
A little bit, but I do think it is good enough. If Lee had Bowmasters, I would think for sure get him out of there. I think the card is just good enough.
Okay. Well, here comes a cat. Going to be in for 2. Of course, Ian trying to not flip the powerful Planeswalker Ajani. And the follow-up is Shockland Tron.
Oh,
I kind of like it.
And honestly, nice choice in duels there from Lee. Those are gorgeous.
Yep, really, really nice.
Oh.
And up. Well, Lee is going for the first shot in the Flage battle and going to Flage his own cat. It must have been a misclick, right?
It must have been a misclick.
Yeah.
I mean, it is kind of wild to me because normally you're going to tick down, you're going to be able to deal some damage, but there's no red permanent. This actually could be a little brutal.
A little risky, right?
A little risky.
So if this cat is now defending its Ragavan, if Ian can take the cat out, Ragavan can get in, can snowball a little bit, but Lee valuing getting that powerful Planeswalker into play, and we're going to go back Ian's way. And now Ian's, one cat between a Ragavan hit that could be anything.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I got to say, like you said, that's Tron, and I would think Flage is Karn in this scenario, in this Mardu deck.
Love it. All right. Ian here taking a real second to think about this. Definitely an interesting play on Lee's side. Whenever your opponent makes a play that looks a little strange to you, you got to stop and think.
Yeah, like, why are you doing this? Because, I mean, we could have looked in the same way of Flage, kill Ragavan, attack for 3, and keep Ajani hanging around. Like, Ajani now is very vulnerable to a Flage or a Lightning Bolt. So, the flip side of it, the Ajani on the other side would still be vulnerable to those cards as well. So, it's a pretty close play for sure.
Whoa, okay.
Wow.
How about a Wrath of the Skies? And this is for X equals 1?
It's got to be X equals 0 and just bank in an energy.
Okay.
Otherwise, that would not make a lot of sense.
Right.
But,
all right. So banking 1 energy, you're only using for using no energy for the actual effect.
Yeah.
Goodbye token. Hello Ragavan. Gonna get in, trigger Ragavan, and we're gonna see top card of Lee's deck, which is a Vindicate. Awesome card. Not so good here.
And I gotta say, I mean, there is only one other Wrath of the Sky that uses energy at all in Ian's deck. What if Lee just flipped over a good 2-drop and you just floated that 1 extra mana, kind of for no reason?
Yeah,
that could have been brutal.
All right, well, we're going to see, and there was a use for the mana. It is the treasure. I guess a white. The Steam Vents could have tapped for white, but we see Binding now taking out the Ajani, and Lee's entire turn just unraveled.
Yep.
So back Lee's way. Now Lee's got to rebuild. Got to defend against this Ragavan, and then also build some sort of a board presence. Flage is in the graveyard, but there are no cards to go with it. So Lee's got some work to do here.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm going to think through, take a second, admire those lands. Like, Oh, yeah, my Marutron is pretty cool.
It is gorgeous,
And then I get back right to it. All right. First stop is Dreams of Steel and Oil and a Swing and a Miss that exiles a artifact creature from hand and graveyard, of which there is none. So, tough pill.
A good old peak.
Yeah, tough pill for Lee to swallow there. Ragavan of his own, pass him a turn. This is getting ugly.
And no dash there on Ragavan. That is also quite interesting. I guess you are just very much prioritizing blocking. That makes sense.
All right, so trades favor Lee, right, with Flage in the graveyard?
I would think so, yeah. Lee just wants to be trading everything. And with that fetch land, now we're all good to go. You go get one of your Surveil lands, bin basically anything, you know. As long as you got a Ruckus Theater or something like that along the line still left in your library.
Some sort of theater or parlor. Gotta be something, right? Some nice hangout joint, you know?
Yeah, exactly. Some place where you can kick back, relax a little.
Yeah, tonight,
like the parlor.
Tonight after the show, you and me are going to a Ruckus Theater.
Yeah, absolutely.
Or an elegant parlor.
You know, it's already been just such a day. I want to chill in like a beautiful, elegant parlor.
Okay, that's good.
Sweet.
All right, so Surveil coming for Lee. These Surveil lands just so good at Modern.
So good. I very much did not respect them that much. And wow, have they just been so good in so many different matchups.
Speaking of wow, we got a top here, but
okay.
Fetch on to follow up. So Lee wanted that card, didn't need it in the graveyard for Flage. Arid Mason to the bin, and I believe we're going to see the Giant Titan coming in.
Yep. I do not want to go hang out in a shadowy backstreet, though, after this, okay?
I've decided I agree with you.
Yeah. I'm afraid of the dark.
There we go. There's a theater.
Okay.
A Ruckus Theater, you know? All right, so Theater comes in. One more Surveil. Fill this graveyard up. Get this Flage rocking and rolling. Top card. And you're going to keep that one, too.
All the good. So now we know Lee is bringing back the most powerful card here in the mid to late game in this matchup, plus drew a card that he wanted and has a card on top that he wanted. And Ian does not have anything in hand, just the Arena of Glory, and, is kind of drawn off the top here. So we know Arena of Glory is the other card, so Ian does not have a single thing available right now.
Yeah, and one thing Flage does is it does kill really, really fast.
Yes. What do you know? Both of those cards were Seasoned Pyromancer. That makes a lot of sense.
All right, so Pyromancer discard, make it elemental, draw 2. Here comes Flage, Helix upstairs, take 9, gain 3. And how about an Ocelot Ride, too?
Why not?
Put that one in there as well.
Throw that kitty cat in there. And we've ascended, so you get an elemental, too, for your troubles. 2 kitties and an elemental.
Love it. All right, end step fetch for Ian, going to 1. Looking for a Hail Mary here.
And it is exactly a Hail Mary because there's a 1 of Wrath of the Skies left in at least the 75. That's pretty much all that could prevent this game from ending right now.
All right, so 2 looks at it. Here's Thundering Falls. A little Surveil.
And you got that energy banked up, so, you're able to clean things up for a little bit of a discount. Ian will look even smarter than he already does if you got that extra energy, but yet you don't have enough mana to do it for 3 fully.
Yep. All right, take a look. Let's go into the bin. Leyline, not the time for that one.
Nope.
Maybe in game 3, and that's where we're going. All right, so Lee takes it down. We're going into game number 3 here, and we haven't seen the Leyline draw from Ian just yet.
Yeah, we really haven't. And that's the thing is, I think both of these decks are very good. I think the Domain Zoo deck is a lot better against combo decks. Stubborn Denial plus big creatures ends up being a lot better than Mardu just trying to win the game fast. But in the aggressive matchup, I do think the energy decks are just much more streamlined, much more fluent.
Sounds great. All right, but we're getting to game 3 here. We got a flash sale.
Ooh.
Everyone's good flash sale, right? 10% off your favorite. Not your favorite, I guess. It's the ones that are on sale, but they're select promotional singles, which will hopefully include some of your favorites. That sale is going to end on Monday. So hop on to StarCityGames.com now. Check it out and see if your favorites are in there. And if they're not, find some new favorites.
What's going on in that mana confluence? Are those dogs or? I'm interested. I like that Inspiring Vantage though. That looks nice. We're in space?
There's space. There's dogs. There's basically if. The answer to your question is yes. if there's something happening, we're doing it. All right. So StarCityGames.com. Make sure you don't miss out. The sale ends on Monday.
Love it. I like that forest too.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's a cool one. I like that one. So, all right, going into game number 3, and looks like we got Ian on 6. And Ian, I think Ian's looking for the ley line.
I don't think he's aggressively mulliganing to it, but would definitely accept it if it's there. The thing is, it's not a foolproof plan against this specific energy deck, just because Lee does have Thought Seizes.
So your fear is keep a ley line with a Scion, lose a Scion?
Yeah, I mean, you still just do it, but, I was going to say I wonder if Ian maybe sided some of them out in this matchup, but that seems crazy. And also, we saw it last time.
Yep. All right, well, here's Dreams of Steel and Oil. We have a really, really ugly start for Ian, who is now playing Boros Energy.
Yeah, Boros Energy, switch decks.
Yep.
That is a very smart plan. That Arena of Glory, though, is not free, as that would have been much better with a Ragavan here into play.
Yep.
But the good news for Ian, no matter what, a Ragavan's connecting next turn. So that's good.
Yep. It is hilarious to see these 5-color decks sometimes. The hands, this is just a Boros hand.
Oh, yeah.
If you just tuned in, Ian is playing Domain Zoo. Ian's not playing Boros Energy.
Yeah.
So
Jim's hand of the week, if I'm saying it right.
I know, right? All right. So Dreams of Steel and Oil will exile one of these cards. Important to note. So could take the Flage.
And probably should.
Yep.
There we go. I think that's smart. If it was just one Ragavan, I think that makes a lot of sense, because this game can unravel if Ragavan does some pilfering here. Let's say hits a nice 1-drop, hits an Oscillate Pride or something. This would be a big game.
All right. So dash Ragavan in. Here we go. Treasure and top card. It is a Arid Mesa.
Womp womp.
Not so good. Now, Treasure does stay around, though, which is nice. So, little mana generation. And another Thoughtseize.
Okay.
I imagine we go off of how the last one went, probably taking Fable.
I would think so. If you have a removal spell, maybe you take one Ragavan, kill the other, but Fable definitely seems like the strong aspect, especially if there's an Oscillate Pride. Oh, no.
Yeah.
First strike, Jim. First strike.
Yeah, the Ragavan definitely has a little trouble getting through this Boros deck once things start to get going. There are so many creatures, and we're going to see a lonely monkey.
Oh, no.
All right.
Sad Ragavan.
Foothills say go. Now, of course, I was saying earlier on the draw, Ragavan seems tough. On the play, you can't not have Ragavan in your deck,
yeah.
right?
Yeah. I think it's there either way. If there's no Bowmasters, no Wrens, Young Wolf, any of the cards that very much prey on Ragavan, I'm leaving that card in. It's too good.
All right, so not looking great here. So you tap into off Lee, taking some note-taking off those Thoughtseizes.
The thing is, Ian would not be doing too bad at all if that Flage was just tilted a little bit in a different direction in the graveyard. This wouldn't be so bad at all.
Yeah, pretty cool tech card here in Dreams of Steel and Oil.
Yeah.
Recognizing what's important, in these kind of matchups. Good stuff.
And I mean, it has some good applications. Like if you're playing against Amulet, being able to hit Amulet or the Titan, Dreams of Steel and Oil is actually very strong right now.
Well, I got to say, I like these lands from Lee. These look like draft lands. You can see they have the Pro Tour stamp on them. For those who don't know, in all pro level limited events, every card is stamped. So any pro player sees a card like that, they go, ooh, I like that. Nice stamped card. So 2 stamp basics from Pro Tours. Love seeing that. Here's a Johnny as well. Bring a cat along too. And the pride's just getting in.
Yeah, it's a flex if you know. Sure, you can have a playmat full of top 8 pins. That's an open flex. We know we're flexing on that. But a stamped one, you're like, dang, what happened to your basic? You should probably get that replaced. Or it's a flex.
I also like the contrast of the draft land basics with the super nice dual lens.
Yes.
I like it a lot. So
I don't, but
So Dreams of Steel and Oil again. Goodbye, other Ragavan, and now Ian is down to the wire here. Only an Arid Mesa in hand. Lee's board is building, and it is building fast. And this one lonely Ragavan is like Captain America up against Thanos' army. I don't know if there's any portals opening this match though.
Yeah, I think the one portal to give Ian a chance here is surveilling a Flage to the yard and then figuring some stuff out. That's probably the best thing we could do.
And I imagine if it was Flage, it would already be in the graveyard.
He would have already been starting his next turn for sure, yeah.
I mean, you think there's some value in just drawing it, killing the Ajani, and then having it in the graveyard for the next turn?
Yeah, that's actually true. That could have been the case.
But either way, it's a binding. That's going to go away here.
Yeah, not good enough.
And there's the Arid Mesa. And that face-down card in Ian's hand better be a good one, because things are starting to unravel pretty fast over here on Lee's side.
Yeah, and it really felt like Lee was just in control all 3 games. Did lose one of them, of course, and it was the top deck Flage on turn 3 for game 1, but otherwise, Lee has just felt like had the deck advantage here, and hey, when you don't have the combo. The Ley Line, the Scion. Your deck is a little less powerful than these energy decks.
All right, so here comes a cat, and a smaller cat, and a first strike cat. And they're all getting in. Little life for Lee. And
another Ajani, a Seasoned Pyromancer, and I think another Ocelot Pride in hand. Like, yikes.
2 legendaries at once. Oh, that must have been a mistake.
Must have been a punt, yeah.
So we're going to see a legend rule here of Ajani, which kills the Ajani and therefore flips the other Ajani. And now Lee's off to the races. Now, there's no red permanent yet.
No red permanent, but another cat's coming into play. And honestly, what I'd love to see Lee do here is just tick up to avoid any kind of flage killing Ajani. And, like, how do you lose, you know? Like, boost up all these cats. You get 4 power instead of 2. Your Ajani's safe. And you get another cat at end step.
I'm going to go the wide route.
Okay.
So we're going to see a bunch of cats.
Unless you're ascended just barely, then that makes sense.
So City's Blessing. So we see 2 cats off of the Pride itself. The second cat off of the Ajani. Or I'm sorry, 2 cats off of Ajani Planeswalker, 2 cats off of Ajani, the actual creature. The dice are coming out. I'm not feeling overwhelmed here, okay? That's a lot of cats.
What I was saying about the +1 from Ajani, not when you have 9 permanents, when you need to ascend. That was a very, very intelligent downtick, that's for sure.
All right, that cat's the...
Get that cat out of there.
The oddball, you know? All right, so... And now Ian's got a lot of work to do. Now, we did see Wrath of the Skies. In game 2. So that's certainly a card that can mop a board like this up.
I think it is basically that. Wrath of Skies and a Dream here. You got 2 looks at it. It might already be in hand, though. That is possible.
All right, here we go. Big draw step.
Now, Wrath of the Sky does not clean up the Ajani Planeswalker, though. So it isn't a foolproof plan. But still very good.
Definitely a start.
Yeah.
All right, so Ian's going to work it out. Take a second here. And unfortunately, just past the turn back. And I have to imagine with the Ajani's ability to pump all the cats up. Crazy cat lady Ajani.
Yeah, absolutely.
Going to do a little math. And what's Lee considering here? What's Lee's worry?
I don't know, that he gets a GRV before he can get to combat, and that's really the only way he loses here, I feel. Like, it really is completely Lee's game to lose here. But hey, this is when you slow down and you make sure there's nothing that can happen. Wrath of the Skies has to be your #1 concern. Maybe a Hasty Flage, that's still pretty good.
All right, so here's Pyromancer, discard 2, make 2 elementals. And that's going to do it. Lee Webb takes it down in convincing fashion with an absolute army of cats.